Another type of problem that I can ask you is I can give you the slope, so I can give you the m value, and I can give you a point on your graph, and you have to tell me how you can draw a picture on that graph. Now we kind of already did it with our last example, but slightly different problem. So we're going to work through this one as well. You can start by plotting the point that you have and writing down your slope somewhere near your graph. Okay, so I've written down that m is equal to 2. It's a little bit of an issue because I'm used to it being a fraction, but remember, any number, when it's written just as a whole number by itself, it means that it's a fraction over 1, right? Because 2 divided by 1 is just 2. So your rise in this case is 2, your run is equal to 1. I've also written my point over here, and I'm going to use that point to determine where my second point is going to be. So using my rise over run, I need to be moving up by 2 units. So I'm here at 1, 0. So if I move up by 2 units, I should be up here at the 2. And I have to move over by 1 unit. So I'll be over at 2. And I can use that logic going backwards as well, make both numbers negative. So I can move down by 2 units, so from 0 to -2, and left 1 unit from 1 to 0. Now you only need to have 2 points to make a line. You just connect 2 points. I've done 3 here just to prove a point, but if you just did the 2, that's totally okay. The last step is to connect your dots. And make sure you put arrowheads on the ends of your lines just to prove that they do go on forever. You might not see them in your textbook as much, but it's a good habit to get into. Okay, so that's what the second type of example looks like. All right, and the third type of question I can ask you, similar to what we've seen already, but I could give you 2 points and ask you to tell me the slope if I've only given you 2 points. So I'll tell you that a line passes through points -2, -3, and 1, 1. And your job is to determine what the slope of that line would be. The first starting point for something like that is, if you have a graph, you can plot the points. Okay, so the points are there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to draw a graph every single time. It's just a good habit to get into. What you could do instead is jump straight to your equation. So you want to write down your equation to start. So m is equal to delta y over delta x, or here's another way that you can write it. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Those little numbers, they're just placeholders. They don't mean anything. And I'm pretty sure we went over that in a previous lesson. They're just labels, right? It's like your name. This y is named y2. This one is named y1. So we have to go on our graph or through the problem itself and find something to call y2, something to call it y1, and the same thing with the x values. Remember, the y values are always listed second, so I'm going to go with -3 and 1. And I'll plug those into my formula. Okay, so a couple of things happen. I have -3 minus 1, which gives me -4, and I have -2 minus 1, which gives me -3. Now, because we have a negative on top and negative on bottom, we can get rid of them if we want to. To be thorough, I am going to record my slope as 4 over 3, but -4 over -3 is the same thing. So if you record it the other way, that's fine as well. And that's answering the question. I don't have to do anything else with the graph because they didn't necessarily ask me to do anything with the graph. If you really want to, you can draw your line in. If you have it on a graph, you can test to see if your slope actually makes sense. So 4 tells me that I have to move up by 4 and over by 3. So from -2, -3, if I move up by 4, well, I should be at +1 because I'm starting at -3. So if I'm at +1 and I move over by 3, I should end up at +1. You can write it on your graph like that. That helps. Well, that's working with the slope. Now, this seems like deja vu to you a little bit. I'm pretty sure we did go over this before. It's just we never called it the slope. We call it something called the rate of change. The rate of change and the slope are the exact same thing. So if you see in a question to give you the rate of change, you're calculating the slope. If you're asked to calculate the slope, you're actually calculating the rate of change. They're all the exact same thing. I think this is a good starting point with this unit. I'm going to give you some practice problems to look at. They're very similar to the ones you've seen in the previous unit, but we're just adding on to that at this point. So give it a try. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. I really appreciate all the responses you've been putting into the homework submission. I'm reading through all of them. If I don't get back to you directly, I have read them. I just haven't either had a chance to, or I'll put them into a video later on if that's necessary. All right, so I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are doing well, and I will catch you in the next one. See you later.